You're working harder than ever, and somehow you're getting less done. Not because you're lazy, not because you lack discipline, but because somewhere along the way, we forgot that big results don't come from big efforts. They come from small things done consistently. Things so small, they feel almost invisible. In Japan, there's a different approach. Habits. So simple you'd almost dismiss them. And yet, they're the reason entire companies thrive. Why people live longer. Why stress doesn't consume. Why progress feels effortless. What if everything you've been taught about achievement was backwards? Let me tell you what I used to believe. I believed in hustle, in willpower, in doing more, trying harder, pushing through. I believed that results required force, that if I wasn't exhausted, I wasn't trying hard enough. And for a while, it worked. Or at least, it felt like it worked. But then something happened. The more I pushed, the less I accomplished. My to-do list grew faster than I could finish it. My energy tanked by 2 p.m. My focus scattered like marbles on a tile floor. I was busy, constantly busy, but I wasn't moving forward. I was spinning. And the worst part? Everyone around me was doing the same thing. We all nodded along, agreed we were overwhelmed, traded productivity apps like they were lifelines, and wondered why nothing ever changed. Then I started noticing something different. Not in Silicon Valley, not in some self-help book, but in Japan. People there weren't working less, they were working differently. Their days had rhythm, their progress had consistency. Their results had a kind of quiet inevitability. They weren't chasing extraordinary habits, they were perfecting ordinary ones. And that's when I realized I'd been trying to build a castle with my bare hands when I should have been learning to lay one brick at a time. So over the next year, I studied these habits. Not by reading, by living them. One at a time, piece by piece, testing what worked and what didn't. And what I found wasn't magic. It was something better. It was replicable. Let me show you what I mean. Habit 1. Start by tidying one small thing. The Japanese call this habit siri. It means setting an order. I used to think my environment didn't matter. My desk was chaos. Papers stacked everywhere, old coffee mugs, random cables. I told myself, I work better in creative mess. I was lying to myself. Here's what I didn't understand. Your environment is a mirror, and when your space is cluttered, your mind is too. So I tried something stupidly simple. Every morning before I opened my laptop, I tidied one small thing. Not my entire desk. One thing. Maybe I'd straighten the notebook. Maybe I'd wipe down the surface. Maybe I'd just put the pen back in its place. It took 30 seconds. And something shifted. Not dramatically, not instantly. But over days, then weeks, my space became calmer. And so did my mind. Here's the science. Princeton researchers found that physical clutter competes for your attention. It increases cortisol, reduces focus, and drains your working memory without you even realizing it. Your brain is constantly processing the mess, even when you're not looking at it. But when you tidy, you're not just organizing objects. You're signaling to your brain, this space is intentional. This moment matters, and your nervous system responds. It relaxes, it focuses, it prepares. In Japan, this isn't just about cleanliness, it's about respect. Respect for the space, respect for the task, respect for yourself. And when you start your day with that kind of care, even in something as small as straightening a desk, you're training yourself to approach everything with the same attention. One small thing, every morning. That's how big order begins. Habit 2. Bow before you begin. This one might sound strange, but stay with me. In Japan, people bow, not just as a greeting, but as a transition. Before a meeting, before a meal, before starting work. It's a micro ritual, a pause, a moment that says, I'm here now, I'm present. I thought that was cultural. Turns out, it's biological. I started doing something similar, not bowing exactly, but pausing. Before I started a task, any task, I'd take 3 breaths. Just 3. Eyes closed, shoulders dropped. I'd feel my feet on the ground. No meditation app, no 10-minute routine, just a boundary between what I was doing and what I was about to do. And that pause changed everything. Here's why it works. Your brain operates in 2 modes, reactive and deliberate. Most of us live in reactive mode all day. We respond, react, scroll, answer, jump from thing to thing. And in that state, the brain is fast, but it's also shallow. But when you pause, even for 10 seconds, you shift into deliberate mode. The prefrontal cortex comes online. You regain agency. Instead of being pulled through your day, you start choosing your day. That's what the bow does. It's not about tradition, it's about transition. In Japan, every tea ceremony begins with a bow. Every martial arts practice begins with a bow. Even kids entering the classroom bow before sitting down. They're not being formal, they're being intentional. And when you bring that intentionality into your own life, you stop drifting, you stop reacting, you start directing. 3 breaths before you begin. That's the habit. Simple, invisible, and more powerful than any motivational quote you've ever read. Because you don't need to be pumped up. You need to be present. Habit 3. Take a walk after lunch. I used to think lunch was a race. Eat fast, get back to work, maximize productivity. And by 3 p.m., I'd hit a wall. My brain would fog, my energy would crash, and I'd spend the rest of the afternoon fighting myself. Then I learned that in Japan, people walk after lunch. Not long, 10, 15 minutes. Just enough to move, to breathe, to reset. I tried it, and for the first time in years, my afternoons became productive again. Here's what's happening. When you eat, especially a heavy meal, your body diverts blood flow to digestion. That means less oxygen to the brain, less glucose for thinking. You're not lazy, you're just running on reserve power. But when you walk, even gently, you increase circulation. Oxygen returns to the brain, your blood sugar stabilizes, and your vagus nerve, the main nerve that controls your rest and digest system, activates in a way that reduces stress and sharpens focus. Studies from Stanford show that walking boosts creative thinking by 60%, and research from the University of Tsukuba in Japan found that a short post-lunch walk significantly improves afternoon cognitive performance compared to sitting still. But beyond the science, there's something deeper here. In Japan, this walk isn't about productivity. It's about rhythm. It's a boundary, a moment that says, the morning is over. The afternoon hasn't begun yet. Right now, I'm just walking. That space, that in-between moment, is where your brain processes. It's where ideas connect. It's where stress dissolves before it builds into something bigger. I don't walk to think anymore. I walk to let thinking happen on its own. And that shift, from forcing to allowing, has made me more creative and less exhausted than any productivity hack ever did. You don't need a treadmill. You don't need a park. Just a few minutes outside, moving, breathing, being between what was and what's next. That's the habit, and it's one of the easiest big changes you'll ever make. Habit 4. Say thank you. Before meals. In Japan, before every meal, people say itadakimasu. It means I humbly receive. I used to eat while working. Lunch at my desk, dinner in front of the TV, breakfast standing in the kitchen scrolling through emails. Food was fuel, something I consumed without thinking. But food isn't just fuel. It's connection to the earth, to the effort, to the moment. So I started saying thank you. Out loud, silently, it didn't matter. Just a moment before eating where I acknowledge the food in front of me. And something unexpected happened. I started eating slower, tasting more, feeling full sooner, and weirdly, I felt calmer. Here's the neuroscience. Gratitude activates the parasympathetic nervous system. When you pause and acknowledge something good, your body shifts out of stress mode. Your heart rate slows, your digestion improves, and you actually absorb nutrients better when you're calm versus when you're stressed. But beyond biology, there's presence. When you say thank you, you're no longer multitasking. You're no longer eating while thinking about the next thing. You're just there, with the food, with the moment. In Japan, this isn't religious, it's relational. It's recognizing that this meal came from somewhere. Someone grew it, harvested it, prepared it, and you're the recipient of all that care. That recognition doesn't make you slower. It makes you fuller, not just in your stomach, but in your attention. And when you practice that kind of presence with food, it starts bleeding into everything else. Conversations, work, relationships. You stop rushing through life and start actually living it. One moment of thanks. Before every meal. That's the habit. And it's one of the smallest ways to remember you're human. Habit 5. Embrace Wabi-Sabi. Wabi-Sabi is a Japanese philosophy. It means finding beauty in imperfection, in things that are worn, weathered, incomplete. I used to be paralyzed by perfection. If I couldn't do something perfectly, I wouldn't start. If a project wasn't flawless, I'd abandon it. I thought excellence meant never making mistakes. I was wrong. Excellence isn't perfection, it's progress. And progress requires you to embrace the cracks. So I started practicing wabi-sabi. I let things be imperfect. I posted work that wasn't perfect. I had conversations where I stumbled. I tried things knowing I'd probably fail. And you know what happened? I got better, faster, because I was actually doing things instead of just planning them. The neuroscience here is clear. Perfectionism activates the brain's threat system. It makes you risk-averse, anxious, stuck. But when you embrace imperfection, you activate the brain's exploration system. You become curious, experimental, resilient. In Japan, wabi-sabi shows up everywhere. In art, in architecture, in pottery, where the cracks are filled with gold, making the broken piece more beautiful than it was before. That's the message. Your flaws aren't failures. They're features. And when you stop trying to be perfect, you finally start becoming great. So here's the truth. You don't need to move to Japan. You don't need to learn a new language or adopt a foreign culture. You just need to understand something the Japanese figured out a long time ago. Big results don't come from big efforts. They come from small habits stacked over time. Tidy one thing. Pause before you begin. Walk after lunch. Say thank you. Stop at 80%. Clean as you go. Reflect before bed. Embrace imperfection. Improve by 1%. Protect your silence. These aren't hacks. They're rhythms. And when you follow them, life stops feeling like a fight. It starts feeling like a flow. I'm not saying it'll be easy. I'm saying it'll be worth it. Because the person you want to become isn't on the other side of some massive transformation. They're on the other side of 10 small choices, repeated daily. And that version of you, they're closer than you think. If this resonated, maybe it's worth exploring more. Not to follow me, but to follow the rhythm. I make videos like this because I believe we've forgotten how to be human, and I think that's worth remembering. So if you're ready to keep going, subscribe. Not for motivation, for momentum, and let's see what happens when small habits meet big time.